Truth Seekers, a new show from Nick Frost and Simon Pegg on Amazon Prime. Just dropped their full season release of 8 episodes, and I am going to tell you what I had to think about it, let you know if you should tune into it yourself. Before we get to that, though, please remember to like the video, share it with your friends on social media, add a comment below to let me know what you think, and do consider subscribing to the channel, as that's one of the best ways to help a newer creator on YouTube like myself reach a wider audience to compete against the Amazons and CBSs of the world. And now, on to the video. Simon Pegg and Nick Frost have a hell of a good history together. Started off with Shaun of the Dead, led into Hot Fuzz, wrapped up with The World's End, a trio of comedy gold that, frankly, I love watching over and over and over. All three of them. When these two guys are together, it just works. So, Truth Seekers, what do we have here? It's a new TV series, not a movie like I initially expected when I was seeing the previews, that's just dropped onto Amazon Prime, and Nick Frost plays the lead character, Gus, who happens to be the best installer for the biggest mobile network in Britain, Smile, led by none other than Simon Pegg as his boss, Dave. So Nick goes around and it does his day-to-day job, and not terribly dissimilar from a reality show that you might remember in Ghost Hunters. You know, he uses his equipment to do and conduct paranormal investigations. He's even got an underlying YouTube channel that produces some decent comedy and good juxtaposition throughout the season, while they're stepping forward to advance the plot overall. So Gus is saddled with a new greenhorn to come along with him and learn the ropes of the wireless broadband installations and things like that. And in the meantime, they get up to hijinks as it relates to paranormal investigations. So the general structure of the show is there is a larger serialized story occurring across the 8 episodes. However, it's sprinkled in reasonably well with kind of an episodic nature of a problem to be solved each and every episode. It's a really good balance of an episodic adventure of the week along with a greater serialized story. So, what did I think kind of overall? As a series, it is a pretty quick watch. Each of the 8 episodes is roughly 30 minutes long, and they're all self-contained doses that honestly would have worked pretty well in a weekly release format. So given Amazon is showing some willingness to do that recently, and the way that this was presented and would have worked in that format, it's a little interesting that they didn't choose to go that way. So I think one of the things that tells us is Amazon's not quite ready to fully dive into 100% weekly release format. But each of these little self-contained episodes does contain elements of the longer serialized story that we do have come to a conclusion in kind of the final 2 episodes of the show. At its heart, it's about a guy, Gus, and his new buddy, Elton John, who learn how to get along as a team in both their real life, but more importantly, in their work as paranormal investigators. There's a lot of reveals over the course of the season where you learn a lot more about Elton, you learn a lot more about Gus's past, and even how the two of those ultimately end up blending together. Several really decent supporting characters are brought in, including Astrid, who is very important for the overall story as well as the individualized episodes. The acting in it is really solid. There's nobody here that you look at and you say gave just a poor performance. And we even have an appearance by Malcolm McDowell as Gus's father-in-law. And the gang kind of gets together and all bonds and becomes a team over the course of the 8 episodes. And again, the chemistry's good, the acting is pretty solid, and the formatting on the money for me. So, I guess those are the things that I would say really worked for me in Truth Seekers. Where did it fall short? Well, I have to admit, being a Simon Pegg and Nick Frost joint, I was expecting it to be more in the vein of your Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, World's End type of movies, which, of course, were some really, really solid comedy that just kept me laughing largely throughout, even though there were some, good, interesting underlying story and what have you. At their heart, they were fun. That's not to say that Truth Seekers isn't fun, because it is, but not in the way I was hoping for, just based on who the creators of this series were. I did enjoy it, but I would not at all call it a comedy, at least not as its main focus. The underlying supernatural stories that are coming through, and maybe even some allegories that we're seeing in terms of people giving up their souls to machines and things like that, brought a decent, level of, maybe thriller is the right term. Definitely not horror, but certainly spooky ghost and metaphysical stories getting looped in, which, again, something I do generally like. But it was, I felt like the series perhaps was struggling a bit to find its true identity and really track down which path it really truly wanted to go. So that lack of a firm identity of where it was definitely makes the series suffer a little bit. It's not to say that I didn't enjoy it, because I did. I found the story to be compelling. I found the actors to be compelling. I enjoyed what I was watching. It definitely didn't drag, and I wouldn't say that there was an overly large amount of filler or anything like that in it either. It was just that there was maybe just a little bit of something missing to be a soul to the show to an extent. So, bit of good, bit of bad. Overall, though, totally decent experience. You're going to invest in this show watching the whole thing 4 or 5 hours, not much more than that. It's in this 8-episode run, as I mentioned. And given the fact in particular that we're somewhat starved for new content, given what's been going on with production schedules and things like that, it was really cool to see a brand new story, a brand new product being produced that I hadn't experienced before, with a group of actors that I do enjoy. So all in all, as a series, I think this one's going to check in at roughly a 7 out of 10 for me, which ain't bad, but it doesn't knock your socks off either. It's definitely worth a watch. It's a quick watch, and I think that most people would enjoy it. So, what's my final verdict on Truth Seekers? It's worth your time, but it's also not going to be something where you're left saying, oh my god, I cannot wait for season 2. There's a really neat, interesting plot twist that you see in the final scene of the show that it definitely makes me curious for where they're going to go, or if they're going to. It could be that this is a one-season shot with no expectation to do more, although I'd say they set it up so you could have another. But again, 7 out of 10, decent solid amount of content, and new content is something that we're really hurting for. Something that I will absolutely say about this show is there was a complete, at least to me, absence of woke, and it really was just a fun show about the story overall. And I mean, I hate to say it, but in 2020, that's a pretty big compliment. So again, Truth Seekers, good show. Take the time to watch it. If you made it this far, please don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends on social media, comment down below, and please do consider subscribing to the channel to continue to get alerts for more pop culture reviews from me, Jake D. Thank you, and we'll see you on the next video.